Hello everyone, my name is Sai Siddhartha and today we're going to discuss about my interview experience with Meta. Now before you run away and think that this is another FANG-based entry video where people talk about writing code on lead code and then finally cracking the interview, you got it wrong. I'll be interning at Facebook for the summer of 22 as a user experience researcher. And for this, you really don't have any coding rounds in your interview. And so before I start, I just want to make sure that this is going to be a very generic video talking through the process, but not really specifics about my answers because I'm not allowed to share those. So I put up my CV on Facebook, which you can find on my website, which is linked below. And after that, I was reached out by the recruiter and we were discussing about what kind of role I would be interested in. And I did share that I would be interested in a qualitative research role. After a few days, we scheduled our first interview. And the first interview was a very technical interview, which really tried to understand how comfortable I am with qualitative research methods. The questions were directed towards understanding my ability to execute qualitative research methods, understanding the pros and cons of these qualitative research methods, and my ability to, given a scenario, choose which research method I would pick and give solid reasoning for that. For these particular levels of interview, I think a great resource is Norman and Nelson group, or the NN group, where they have a list of research methods and they kind of talk about each research method in detail. I also use the Guide to UX Research website, which has a really coolly a card sort based layout about each of these research methods, and then it has links which are the best resources for each of these research methods. I also use something called userinterviews.com, which kind of has blogs about each of these research methods and has pros, cons, and how you would execute these research methods. I would be putting all of these in the blog, which is again in the description. Apart from that, I think what you would really be interested to prepare for yourself is, given a particular scenario, try to talk to yourself about how you would validate using a particular research method rather than just jumping into the fact that this is the research method I would be using. For example, this has not been asked in my interview, but for example, if the question is you're given an application and you are asked to evaluate how good or bad this application is and what research method you would use, do not jump into the conclusion that you would be using user interviews or usability tests, but make sure you're trying to get this justification saying what is the aspect you want to test. Do you want to test the aesthetics? Do you want to see how people are navigating through your app and how people are using their information architecture? And once you get that kind of thinking going, then you would possibly want to talk to the interviewer saying that if I am testing the aesthetics, I would use so and so research method. If I'm trying to change the information architecture, I would use so and so research method. So stop jumping into conclusions and try to give a very good reasoning about why you want to choose what research method. After this round, I was pretty okayish. I thought I did well. I don't think I could have done much better than that. Then after that, it was Christmas, and I was like, it was 1 month, and I didn't really hear back from them, and I thought this is the end of the game. But I've got actually reached back. In mid of January, saying that they would like to go to the second round. In the second round of interview, it was much more comfortable because I get to talk for 30 minutes about my research project, and 30 minutes they could do question and answers about that project or anything else. So when you're picking, I'm not supposed to share what research project, and I cannot share the slides of those because I'm not allowed to, and also I'm currently publishing them at ACM KaiPlay. But I do have some tips on what kind of projects you should be choosing when you're presenting it. For the UX research role, talk about research projects where you can show the breadth of your research methods rather than picking the most aesthetically beautiful one. Because when you're interviewing for companies, possibly at this scale, they already have very established design principles, and you making aesthetically beautiful designs might not really be the core requirement, but what they're looking for is your ability to understand what research method to use and how you would execute them. So if your project talks about things where you've been showing a really good breadth of research methods and how you've executed them, that would be great. Apart from just the execution, something I would also consider is showing how tangible those executed methods were. Like, for example, you did a card sorting and you improved the information architecture of your site by so and so metrics, right? You did user interviews, and from those user interviews, you have actually brought some interesting insights which you have helped change the product. So showing what results you've done after you've executed a particular research method is really, really important. Another aspect I would also talk about is, if you've played a role in the team, what kind of role did you play in the team, and how did you help your team execute a particular research method? And how did you fit into that team is something they would also look into. Another interesting part, I think, is having that ability to showcase for given different situations, like for your given project, if there was unlimited budget, what would you do? If there was if you had a constraint saying that somebody got COVID and then none of you could get together and do user interviews, what would you do? So for different scenarios, different restrictions and different budget restrictions, different alternatives, be very critical about how you could have changed your research methods. Another thing I would always recommend is, um, for the project you've done, how would you have done it differently because of your newer experiences? So try to think about ways you could have improved your project or improved your choices of choosing which research method and their ability to execute them. I think these things are what people are looking for. And yeah, so I did have a very good interview. I presented one of my current research projects, which I'm pursuing as part of my PhD. And then I had questions on these lines, like how I would change the project, and what kind of other research methods I would use. And like, for example, they've given me a situational based question saying that this is what we have at Facebook, and how would you, execute this project? So these kind of things are what they're looking for. They're not looking for how good or beautifully you draw, but just the ability to understand research methods and execute them is what they should be looking for. After this interview, I must thank my recruiters. I got back the offer within 24 hours, and we had a good conversation about various logistics, the start dates, stipends, and then I got the official offer letters to sign. I hope this video really puts some insight into what happens in a UX research role as an intern. Definitely, the ball game would be different for a full-time role, but it's not very common. We see a lot of videos on YouTube discussing in detail what they do to get into other roles in companies in the FANG or MANG groups, other than software roles. So I really wanted to break that stereotype there and try to put this out here. I would strongly recommend going to my portfolio website downstairs, which is in the comments, in the description, and then you would actually have a better way to read these things in structure. You would also see some portfolios about some of my projects and how I actually put them together, which might have got attention. Thank you so much, and I would be doing a lot more regular videos right these days about my life in the US and things like that. So hit the subscribe button if you think things make sense. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.